I mean, it was a nice place, and we'd go in there and I don't know what the Chichikis' names were,
And
but all they were
Tajikas, what background would that be? Is that Greek or?
Greek.
Okay.
Greek.
Yeah.
So many years we would go to they belonged to the Greek Orthodox Church. Well, they had to go to Dayton to the Greek Orthodox Church. So once a year, the Greek Orthodox, and I think there was only one. It was a big church in Dayton, and they would have a Greek festival.
Fun.
And so my mom and dad would go down there, or up there, well, down there, and they would buy baklava, which I didn't care for, but they liked it.
Yeah.
So they'd bring home baklava, and and it was sweet. You ever eat baklava?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of honey and sugar and yeah.
Oh yeah, too sweet for me.
Yeah.
But they would eat that.
So Grandma was at the candy store, and was Grandpa always at Hobart after he finished school, or was he at a different? Okay.
No. He went right to work for Hobart. He worked on the assembly line when they paid the guys on the assembly line 30 cents an hour, but they paid him 35 cents because but that's the only jobs they had. It was the Depression.
Yeah.
They paid him 35 cents since he was an engineer.
Yeah.
And told him, hey, you'll be an engineer for us when we have an engineering opening. But right now we
just get in the door.
They were having a hard time doing anything. And
do you know what products he was working on?
Welders. That's what they made. Welders. Hobart welders. Still do.
Okay. When I think about them, I think about I thought they made industrial size mixers and things like that.
No, that's Hobart Manufacturing.
Okay.
Hobart Brothers was Hobart Manufacturing was owned by Edward Hobart's dad, and he started both companies.
Okay.
But he sold the controlling interest off in the manufacturing, and the Hobart Brothers his sons owned the Hobart Brothers Company, and then one of them owned Hobart Cabinet Company, and they made cabinets.
Oh, neat.
Okay.
Huh.
And
smart.
But Hobart Brothers was a big company.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Grandpa was a time and space engineer, right? Isn't that what?
He was an industrial engineer.
Okay. Grandma said he was time and space, and that is an industrial engineer. That's the same thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. When they built a new plant, he would design the assembly line.
Yeah.
Okay. And he worked on the assembly line and he knew all the guys. Okay. And they knew him, and they all palled around together, and so when I worked there in college, most of the people knew me. Oh, that's Wilson's son. That's Wilson's
that's
son.
Neat.
And he had worked with almost all of them, and it was interesting. They would he could tell stories about other things they did and what have you. But some of his very best friends just worked on the assembly line, but they were good people.
Yeah, for sure.
They weren't.
Yeah.
And we had one guy. He was Bob Miller. He was in charge of purchasing, and then there was another guy. His name was, I think it was Bob Miller too, but he was from Tip City.
That's funny. Bob Miller and Bob Miller too.
Well, he had two sons. I worked with one of them. I forget what his name was. He was a part of Delco's, where you go to college for 6 months and then you work for 6 months for Delco.
Oh, okay.
And,
a cooperative education is what it's called now.
Yeah, well, Delco was a big, Uh, Mr. Kettering was from Dayton. You familiar with Mr. Kettering?
Yes.
Okay. He and Mr. Sloan owned General Motors.
Mm-hmm.
They founded General Motors. Okay. So like Dayton had inland manufacturing, they had Frigidaire, they had Delco, probably a couple others that were General Motors plants.
Right.
Okay. And Mr. Kettering invented the self-starter on the automobile.
Oh, wow.
He invented the V8 engine.
Huh.
He invented high test gasoline. He was one of the smartest people in the United States for a long time.
That's really neat.
And Kettering, they owned the bank, the Kettering Bank in Dayton, the Kettering family, and I think it's probably the Bank of America now, but it was a big bank.
Yeah.
And he started, well, in Troy they've got the Kettering Hospital now.
Mm-hmm.
The Kettering family was.
We applied to the Kettering Foundation, so it's one of the larger national foundations. So.
Oh yeah. Well, they owned half of General Motors at one point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We did it when I worked for Dun & Bradstreet. We did a credit report on Mr. Kettering, and one of our guys went over and interviewed him, and he said, they were trying to buy. The hospital was going to buy some kind of something with radiation. And it was a company in New Mexico or Arizona. I think it was Arizona. Isn't that where they mine uranium or something like that? It was an $8 million. It was an $8 million purchase, and I'll never forget we laughed because the office in Arizona called our office in Dayton, Ohio, and said, we've got a guy named Kettering. Once they want to buy this machine, and it's an $8 million machine. Who are these people? And they talked to the guy behind me. He said, well, it's not Kettering, it's Kettering. And he said, the last time we interviewed him, Mr. Kettering, he was an alcoholic, by the way, and he was president of the bank. Now, not his father. His father was not an alcoholic. He was a smart guy, and but he was the president of the bank. And he said, we asked him what their assets were, and he said, well, over half our assets are in the Kettering Foundation, but and that has, I don't know, $400 million worth of stock in General Motors, but that's far from the family's holding in General Motors stock.
Yeah.
Wow. Our guy almost dropped on the floor. He said, tell them not to worry about $8 million to the Ketterings. That's like a nickel to you and I, Mm-hmm. And he said, well, what do they do? He said, their dad he and Mr. Sloan owned General Motors. They founded General Motors, and God knows how much stock they've got in General Motors Company. I mean, it was.
And is that Alfred P. Sloan?
Yeah, this is the Sloan Kettering Foundation.
Okay, well now Alfred P. Sloan, I just wrote a grant to them maybe 2 weeks ago. Well, I didn't write it. I helped with it.
They owned a hospital in New York City, I think, the Sloan Kettering Foundation. They had a foundation, too, that they went together with. And I mean, it's kind of like the Ford Foundation or something like that. These people were extremely wealthy now. Like Henry Ford was as anti-Semitic as anybody in the
Yeah.
world was.
Yeah.
Okay, he hated Jews,
Yeah.
and the kids that own the foundation today, they give to all kinds of liberal causes.
Oh,
and
really?
Henry would turn over in his grave if he knew what they
Yes.
had done with his money.
He does
Okay.
have that reputation. Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate you doing that. I didn't think it would be that hard.
Yeah, this makes it out. It was cracked.
Wow, okay.
So I had to change it.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate you. I'm
Well,
back.
he wasn't unusual back in those days. I mean, that's how I told you. My mother was anti-Catholic as anybody I knew, and they were, you know, we had a Catholic church in Troy and a Catholic school. And
Can
my
you
mom and dad
imagine?
were-
I'm imagining, I hate to interrupt, but you saying that just made me think about Aunt Sue being like, well, I've fallen in love with a Catholic.
Oh, I mean, they were beside themselves. They didn't know what to think.
Yeah,
And but in their defense, they didn't know any Catholics.
sure.
Okay, they didn't know one.
Right.
My mother thought that Catholics were like communists or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, she couldn't even imagine them as regular people. And that was true of most of the people in the United States. I mean,
Yeah.
when I grew up, Catholicism was, you know, these people are, they're not from England. They're not from, you know, my mom and dad grew up, my dad, I don't know what my dad was, but my mom grew up in a country, she went to a country church. Okay, I mean, all they knew was
Yeah.
they
They didn't have
she
the
lived-
internet. They just had their preacher and their
No.
teacher.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think she went to a one-room schoolhouse, but it wasn't. You know, I told you one time we went to an antique store and somebody tried to sell her a kerosene lantern, coal oil they call it, kerosene, which is not really coal oil, but that's what people called it back then. And she said, "I'm not having a kerosene lantern." I said, "Why aren't you having a kerosene?" "That's what I read by when I was a child." She said,
Yeah.
"That's all we had."
Yeah.
She said, "I don't want any part of it."
Yeah.
These electric lights was a
Way to
big
go.
thing for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh,
She said,
that's
but
neat.
Can you imagine that? I mean, that was hard for me to imagine.
Yeah. And the smell. Ugh.
Well, you know, if you went to their house where they lived in New Madison, they lived in the country in New Madison. They had a Franklin stove in the dining room. Okay, and that was the only room that had any heat, and it was cold in Ohio. And the kids went to bed upstairs. They had it upstairs, and it wasn't heated up there at all. So they had to lay under all kinds of blankets and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
They had to get up and go to the bathroom like they're frozen to death.
Oh, I bet.
Because the bathroom was outside.
Oh,
They didn't have running.
gosh.
They didn't have running. The only running water they had in the house was they had a pump on the sink. Okay, and so they'd have to pump water
Right.
into the sink, and they had a wood burning stove. They cooked. My mother learned to cook on a wood burning stove,
Hmm.
and those girls were pretty good
Yeah.
on
Good
a
at
wood
it.
burning stove, you know. But they didn't have anything that told them they were setting it
Right.
oven to 375 degrees. It was
Yep.
when it looks like this, we're going to put the
Right.
and you know my mother could make
That's
bread
neat.
and all that kind of stuff, and she learned it on a wood burning
Huh.
stove. And Grandpa would have to go out and chop wood,
Mm-hmm.
and then they had I believe. Well, I don't know how. I don't remember the Franklin's. I remember the Franklin stove, and I think they had a coal pile somewhere that he would put
Oh.
coal in. Where they had a coal bucket that they. You don't remember coal buckets, but
Yeah, because I
Oh,
thought
it
you
was-
said that your house somewhere had a coal bin on the side of it.
well, that was grandma. That was my grandpa in Troy. I'm talking about my grandpa
Okay.
in New Madison.
Right.
Okay, So they didn't have to worry about their pipes freezing because they didn't have indoor plumbing, and and it was like 6 or 7 kids, and my grandmother only had one leg, and so she had a chair that was on casters, and she would roll
Better
around the
watch
house.
out. Here she comes.
Well, then she had crutches that she'd go out to the bathroom on her
Oh.
crutches, and but the kids did a lot of it. But we would laugh because my mother was a good worker, okay, but Aunt Margaret, she was
Right.
not real.
Well, we were all called Aunt Margaret a time or two.
Well, but Aunt Margaret was a wonderful person.
Yeah, she
And,
was.
And they laugh because one would wash the dishes and one would dry, okay, but just about the time it came to do the dishes, Aunt Margaret would have to go to the bathroom, okay, and
That's been a
Put it
running
on.
joke ever since.
yeah, and well, Maxine, I'm scared outside. It's
Oh.
dark outside. I'm scared at night. You got to go to the bathroom. But they had a 2-holer, what we call back in those days. If you had a 1-holer or a 2-holer, a 2-holer was you'd sit side by side with your sisters or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And because it was you're pooping in a bucket.
Right.
Grandpa would have to go out and empty the bucket every now and then, and that was, they called that the honey bucket, and but it was and people just went outside to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. And it was a long time before people.
Yeah,
Now, in
especially
Troy,
in
we
rural areas in
Oh
particular.
yeah, I mean, where we lived in Troy, we had running water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we had I grew up in a 2-bathroom house. All right, and but that was rare.
Yeah, and
Most
what a
people
change
don't.
for someone like Grandma who had, gone from outside to 2 bathrooms
You
inside.
You wouldn't know it. I mean, she didn't put on too much, but when she and her sisters, brothers would get together, of course she had 2 brothers, Uncle Bill and Uncle Lou,
Mm-hmm.
and and they were funny because Uncle Lou was older than Uncle Bill, one or the other, I don't know. If one peed in the bed, he would take his nightgown off and put it on the other when he slept soundly, so he'd blame me. Can you even imagine that?
Wow, that's
And
funny.
then they'd have to wash all those quilts and everything, but
Yeah.
whatever. It was
Washing a quilt without a washer and dryer would be quite the chore.
but they had washboards,
Yeah.
okay?
That's
And,
a lot of
that's-
material to go across a washboard.
When I was a child, we had a Maytag washer in the basement, and we didn't have a dryer, but we had a wringer at the end of the washer it was hand, that you'd two rubber,
Oh, right. And it kind of goes through the
cylinders
middle and yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it was electric. Ours was electric. I bet my mother would. Don't you get your hands in the wringer? Don't you get your fingers
Okay.
in those ringers?
That's where
I
those
mean-
phrases come from. Okay.
Well, yeah, and it was when we got a electric dryer. Well, it was a gas dryer. We got a gas dryer. My mother thought she'd died going
Oh,
down.
I
And we
bet.
got a regular an automatic washing machine and an automatic
Gosh.
dryer.
Imagine the
And,
time back for the housewives of America. That's a big deal.
Oh, and they were expensive.
I'm sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back in those days, well, my dad went to work for 30 cents an hour.
Right.
40-hour week, what is that? 30 cents times 40 is what? $12 a
Yeah,
week, something
12
like
a
it.
week. Right.
30 cents an hour, so 240 times 5 is almost a little more than $12 a week. But, you know, and I was thinking about this the other day. We used to have a popsicle route that came by where they had dry ice in there and they'd have popsicles and they'd ring a bell and they walked around town. And, you know, and this was before my time. They had a guy that sold horseradish like that.
Oh,
and he
neat.
would grind the horse. They called him Horseradish Charlie. And he would grind the horseradish. You know what a horseradish is?
No, I only know the little bottle in the fridge. That's
Well,
horseradish.
You know what a radish is?
Well, of course. I imagine it's just a variation of that.
Well, there's a red radish, and then there's a white radish that's longer.
Okay.
Okay. Then there's a horseradish, which is pretty big size, and they would grind those up to make horseradish. And fresh ground horseradish, I
Woo-wee.
guess, was kind of like, you know, I was listening to Jack Benny the other night, and he and Rochester were cutting onions. Okay, and poor
no.
Rochester was crying, you know. Jack, I don't know why you're crying. You let me do it. Next thing you know, he's crying.
Aw, that's great.
Oh, they're funny together. I mean,
Always.
Jack Benny, of course, he was Jewish, and Rochester probably did as much for integration as anybody in the United States, because Rochester, but when he started out, Jack was going to tell him what to do. He was kind of a house servant,
Yeah.
you know, but by the time the show ended, great day. I mean, he always, you know, the other night they were tending to a horse. Jack had sold his car and they had a horse and buggy. They were going to go
gosh.
to the movies in, you know, and I forget the name of it. Lucille or something was the name of the horse. And she would cross her legs and they would have to pull her legs apart, and then she'd fall on the ground. And then they had a jack they'd have to put under the horse to jack the horse where she could stand up. And, you know, and then once they would get to going, they both of them would sing, dilly, 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 you know, and, you know, and Rochester, I'll take the front of the horse and you take the rear end of the horse, you know.
That's great.
They were funny together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, and
then
Rochester,
when was like Dean and Sammy? Were they just after Jack Benny or?
well, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis were partners.
No, not Jerry Lewis. Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy Davis Jr.
And
well,
Dean Martin.
that came long after that.
Okay.
Okay. You know who Jerry Lewis is?
Well, of course. Yeah, he was
Okay,
fantastic.
well-
I liked his old movies and I liked his telethons.
Well, he and Dean were partners, and then they broke up, and they didn't
Right.
even speak to each other for years. Okay, and Jerry Lewis was the funny one of the bunch, and everybody thought
He was a genius.
Dean
He
would-
really was.
that Dean would not do well by himself, but it turned out Dean did better than Jerry. And
Jerry was
well, he was
so talented with all his facial expressions and physical comedy and
so. Dean Martin, pretty funny guy himself,
yep,
and he's good looking
good straight man.
and a great voice.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
I mean,
I think that's what a lot of the younger people today would remember him almost as a singer more than
Oh,
a
yeah.
stage entertainer. So
well, but he, you know, he supposedly drank, but he didn't drink. And that was he did drink a little bit, but nothing like what they.
oh,
But
okay.
he and Frank Sinatra were big buddies.
Oh
but,
yeah, the Rat Pack.
Yeah, but he'd go home to his wife every night, He said they'd say, that a lot of that was, his children said a lot of that was just Hollywood stuff.
Yeah.
They said,
Well, that's good.
Well, Frank Sinatra and the rest of them, they were out like that almost every night in Las Vegas.
Oh.
But Dean would be out with him till maybe 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
and then he'd
and then
go
go
home.
home.
Yeah, and often what he, I was drinking wonderful. It was apple juice.
I
Okay,
see.
looked like-
Okay.
Looked like he was.
They're just building a buzz around them. Yeah, getting publicity.
Part of the show.
Yeah.
Part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's interesting.
kind of like, I had that friend in Ecuador who was a professional wrestler, and Nature Boy Buddy Rogers came to Troy, Ohio. There had probably 5,000 people in the
Nature Boy.
arena, and he was the original Nature Boy. Ric Flair came after him, but Nature Boy had blonde hair down to his shoulders, and he was a big star.
Mm-hmm.
He was the big star
Neat.
in wrestling. And he wrestled in the arena one night, and I think he did it maybe a couple times in my lifetime, that a big star like that would come.
Yeah.
And the guy that he wrestled, they had to take him off in a stretcher, and they put him in an ambulance. But and in Troy, Ohio, the interesting thing was, ambulance never showed up at the hospital.
Oh, okay.
I told my buddy who was a wrestler, I said, they took the guy off in a stretcher and into an ambulance, but he said, Bill, that's part of the show.
Part of the show. Wow.
He said, that's people gonna get their money's worth.
Yep. Did you ever think that your other daughter would become such a great wrestling fan? She loves wrestling. All the documentaries, sometimes Tracy, have you seen this? Tracy, there's a new wrestling documentary out. You won't believe this guy.
Well, my grandmother thought it was real.
Oh, great. That's cute.
Back when it was in black and white. It was on Friday nights. And the people didn't know the difference. I mean, they put on the show. They made it look real.
Yeah, for sure.
And Shaneling Beer sponsored the wrestling. It was a local Dayton beer. And they used Pilsner glasses, and they poured the beer into Pilsner glasses. And my dad had to have a Pilsner glass. Oh, my. I mean, when we bought TVs, we had one of the first black and white TVs in Troy. It was $550, which was more than most people made.
So then your neighbors came over to watch the wrestling shows?
Wrestling was about all it was on. I mean, the TV stations didn't come on till 5 o'clock. There was only 2 stations in Dayton. They didn't come on till 5 o'clock in the evening.
Right.
And they'd go off at 11. So, the news came on at 6. I believe it was 6 or 6. The local news came on at 6. And then at 6:30, at 5:30, maybe it was 5. And then the news was only 15 minutes. I mean, when Walter Cronkite or David Brinkley and Chet Huntley came on, it was 15 minutes. And then there was a show called, from 5 o'clock, there was a local kids show. And at 5:30,
Howdy Doody, absolutely.
Came on.
The
And
Howdy Doody Show, the Howdy Doody
Howdy
Show.
Doody time. It's Howdy Doody time.
Oh, that's right.
Howdy Doody time.
We're gonna start the show.
Yeah, Buffalo Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And he, I believe he was the voice of Howdy Doody too. I don't know how they did all that, but in any case,
You had a Howdy Doody doll, I remember.
oh yeah, everybody did. Okay, all the kids did, and Mr.
Green Jeans.
Clarabelle the clown later became Captain Kangaroo.
Okay.
It was the
Neat.
same guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Huh.
Captain Kangaroo was a big show. I mean, it was
It
kind of
was.
like Sesame,
That came to
Sesame
my
Street.
time, I think, because I remember Captain Kangaroo for sure, and then Mr. Green Jeans. But he was
Yeah.
with Captain Kangaroo, I think.
We never cared for that. And then what was the guy's name that came on? And he was
And you had Mr. Ed, the
yeah,
talking
Mr. Ed
horse.
was syndicated. I'm thinking of the guy who put a sweater on and
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers. And I think it was you or Tricia wanted a sweater like Mr. Rogers
Aw.
one year for Christmas. What do you want for Christmas? Oh, I want a sweater like Mr. Rogers. We didn't watch Mr. We didn't know what he was talking about. So,
That's sweet.
but he come in every day and take his sweater off and hang it up in the
Oh,
closet.
yeah. Yep.
And,
Won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor?
But we were too old for that. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
We watched the Disney, the Mickey Mouse
Oh,
Club,
the Annette Bernich.
Annette Funicello.
Funicello.
And, yeah. Oh man, she was every boy's dream. And Spin and Marty, they had characters on there that they and of course they didn't have Disney World then, so they were just starting Disneyland. So part of that was an advertisement, I guess you would say, for Disneyland.
Smart. Yeah.
And Walt Disney would be on, and he would take
Yep.
people to see how we're doing on Disneyland.
Huh.
And
Neat.
everybody in
Smart.
America wanted to go to Disneyland. In Ohio, unless you went to California for the Rose Bowl, most people have never been to California.
Yeah, it wasn't a tourist
Okay.
place yet.
Well, it was a tourist place, but
For the
people
beach.
it's a long, long drive.
Yeah.
And
You had-
the planes were.
Leave It to Beaver would have been a little bit later, but not
yeah.
too much.
We didn't have jet airplanes in those days. I can remember going to Dayton, Ohio, to the airport because we wanted to watch jets take off. Well, that was. Oh, look at them go up so fast, I mean, and Orville and Wilbur had just, what was it, 1903? They
I think so. I can't quite remember, but it was around then.
well, they lived in Dayton, okay, and they had Wright Field, and Orville Wright. They built the Ohio Stadium in 1922, where they played
Wow.
football. Orville Wright was a season ticket holder.
Wow, that's neat. Huh.
Yeah, can you even imagine that?
Yeah, that's
So when
really
you see
neat.
Ohio State play, at one point, one of the Wright brothers was and they were quite wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know whether they had, but the Wright mansion, they have a mansion that they had in Troy, one of them in Troy, and they owned I believe Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Oh, right.
is,
That makes
Wright
sense.
Wright Field was one of named after them, and then Patterson was probably named after Mr. Patterson founded the NCR company,
Okay.
okay, National Cash Register, and they make all the ATM machines now. They were headquartered in Dayton, and they had 27 plants in Dayton, and then when they got electronic cash registers, people couldn't wait to get rid of NCR. Okay, they had a monopoly on the cash register business. They had all the patents on cash registers, and they closed 27 plants in Dayton. Almost.
Wow. Gosh, how
probably less than-
devastating for the economy there.
Well, and then NCR moved their headquarters to Atlanta in the middle of the night.
Oh,
They
gosh.
didn't even want. Mr. Patterson had died. He would have never done that. Okay.
I was gonna say, how
Oh.
did he get that named after him? If he ended up,
Well,
it
he
was
was a,
someone else.
well, Patterson owned he founded NCR, and I forget what the guy's name that founded the Dressograph Multigraph, makes monolith machines and all that. But they all three, and uh, and Watkins, what's his name that that founded IBM?
Oh, Watson.
Yeah, Watson, and whatever the guy with the Dressograph Multigraph. They have both worked for Patterson at
Okay.
NCR. Okay,
Hmm.
and he let him get away from him, and one founded one of the biggest
Man.
addressing places in the United States, or monolith machines, copying machines, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and the other one founded IBM.
Hmm.
And I said, and Patterson hired a guy who was a very successful salesman, and he hired him to come in and speak to him about how to sell.
Mhm.
And he listened in the back, and he put together a sales thing.
Yeah.
He robbed this guy's.
Oh no, he took the
Well, he didn't
idea.
rob him, but I mean, he took
Wow.
all of his ideas and
Went and
kept
did
them
it.
for NCR
Wow.
and IBM
Hmm.
and IBM and Dressograph all had the same ideas.
Yeah.
They took all that sales. We're going to make an approach call. We're going to make
Huh.
we're going to talk about how we can help your business, and then we're going to ask to take a
Mhm.
survey in your business of what you're doing so we can fit our product in. Then we're going to make a demonstration of what we're doing. Then we're going to make a proposal to you. It'll all be laid out here in big
Yep.
stuff, and then we're going to close the deal.
Someone took it.
And 5 steps of a sale. And
Right.
Patterson stole it from this guy,
Wow.
and it was a.
Sounds like Tesla, Westinghouse, and Edison.
Oh yeah, well, Westinghouse. I had a teacher in college or in high school, and he always asked us, and I didn't know this at the time, and I'm not able to refute it, what the biggest invention of the 19th century or 20th century or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you have any idea what he said?
I don't know.
The Westinghouse air brake.
Okay. What is that for, like elevators,
It was for railroad cars.
railroads?
Railroads couldn't go over about 20 miles an hour because they couldn't stop
Mm-hmm.
until Westinghouse invented the air brake.
Neat.
And so that was the foundation of rapid transportation in the United States. They use air brakes on
Yeah.
airlines.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us had ever even considered that. But, penicillin. That is an important event, that's,
Yeah.
I would say
I think the Westinghouse, I think they did Tesla really wrong. But it's interesting, the whole, how do you put a patent on electricity in, like, the light bulb? I read a book recently about the light bulb and the fight for the patent. And then also, one of them was working on devices, and the other one was working on powering in more geographic area, and the squabbles between the two, and then the Tesla kind of got a little shoved out of that, and it was really
well, he
interesting.
was AC power, I think, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was, the big thing was, are we going to move AC power or DC power? And it it's quite an event.
Yeah,
But
it's very interesting.
well, like Edison invented the light bulb, and I think General Electric. I don't know whether I don't know how all that worked out, but he had the patents on light bulbs
did.
for a long
Mhm.
time.
I'll find
And,
that book and recommend it to you because it was excellent. It's really good.
Well, it's I don't know. I gotta go. I've talked too long.
Well, it's
Okay.
been a pleasure. I've loved it. I hope you have a nice
Wow.
evening and sleep better tonight.
All right, I hope so too. All right, good night.
Good night.
Bye.